The doctrine of the Trinity is central to the Christian faith. It not only affects the way we understand God, it affects the way we understand ourselves, relationships, salvation, love, sin, and pretty much everything else. What you may not know, however, is that the development of Trinitarian theology not only affects what we think, it affects how we think. In fact, you'll see the results in this catechism. The doctrine of the Trinity was solidified in the midst of a struggle to understand who Jesus is and how He is able to save us. In AD 325, the Church held a council to address the debate about whether Jesus is just as much God as the Father is, or if He is a second, lesser God than the Father. A man named Alias and his followers, called Arians, taught that Jesus was a demigod who is not equal to the Father. The Arians had a lot of Bible verses to prove that Jesus was submissive to the Father and received all His authority, power, and spiritual insight from the Father. They thought this clearly proved Jesus was less than the Father. But this understanding of Jesus was not what the apostles had passed down to them. The Arians were misinterpreting the Scripture. The Church decided that in order to properly understand Scripture, it was necessary to look for underlying concepts, not just what was on the surface. It was settled that even a few verses could be enough for proving correct theology if one interpreted them properly and consistently with the rest of Scripture. The Church also found it clearly necessary to use terms not found in Scripture, terms such as Trinity, to be more precise and clear about the meaning of Scripture. We feel the impact of these conclusions in our catechism when it comes to topics like the Trinity, original sin, prevenient grace, entire sanctification, assurance of salvation, and others. You'll notice we often use terms that do not appear in the Bible. There are also occurrences where very few verses are explicit about a particular doctrine, but the underlying idea runs throughout Scripture and fits with its other teachings. This is why it's important to recognize and properly use these tools to understand and explain the Bible.